Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. On the eve of the wedding, my wife said she was going on a trip with her childhood friends to relieve stress. However, I suddenly saw a post on Moments from her childhood friend William. The person I love is going to be given to another man. Let me have you one last time. The accompanying picture was of my wife, bare-shouldered and fast asleep. I was stunned for 2 seconds, then typed a message thoughtfully to remind him, "Don't forget to get a checkup. My wife is sick." The moment I sent that message, the phone rang. My wife Mia's tone was filled with dissatisfaction and a hint of threat. "What are you talking nonsense about? Do you still want to get married or not?" I looked at the bouquet of flowers in my hand that was prepared for the wedding. It was already in a mess, and I smiled indifferently. "Let's not get married then. You two can carry on." There was a sudden pause on the other end of the phone because I would have never said such words before, even if I was beaten to death. Mia esse ton softened noticiably. "Honey, stop making trouble. The photo was just for fun. I just have wedding jitters and wanted to relax. Can't you be more understanding?" Be understanding? Haven't I been understanding enough towards her? I understood her desire to stay in her hometown, so I quit my job in City A and came with her to this small county town. I understood her wish to have a house of her own, so I bought a house and put it under her name. I understood her longing for a dream wedding, so I took the trouble to study every detail. How much more understanding do I have to show? My head was getting dizzier due to staying up late to prepare for the wedding. Just as I was about to speak, there suddenly came Mia's terrified scream from the other end of the phone. "James, help!" My heart skipped a beat, and I stood up instinctively, knocking over the chair. "What's wrong?" Her voice became even more pitiful. "James, my leg was bitten by a snake. I can't feel it anymore. Am I going to die?" At this moment, I suddenly remembered that they had gone to climb a mountain in a desolate area of the local region. It wasn't unusual to have venomous snakes and insects there. I let out a heavy sigh. "Did you call the emergency number?" "Ask William to take you there." Mia snorted coldly. "He's such a coward. He ran away a long time ago." Then she pleaded pitifully with me. "Honey, come quickly. I am scared." Listening to her voice, it would be a lie to say I wasn't worried. I ruffled my hair and, as if resigned to my fate, picked up the car keys and went out. During the journey, Mia might have been too scared, or she was afraid that I wouldn't come. She kept sobbing softly on the phone. I gritted my teeth and stepped on the gas all the way. Several times, people rolled down their car windows and cursed at me, but I still thought the car wasn't fast enough and only hated that I couldn't grow 2 wings and fly. When I arrived, I looked at the pitch-black mountain path and felt embarrassed because I have severe night blindness and couldn't see clearly at all. But this was a matter of life and death. Even if Mia had really done something wrong, I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. So I forced myself to start climbing the mountain. Along the way, I stumbled and almost fell off the cliff several times because I didn't see the stones under my feet. My palm also hit a stone, and a sticky liquid immediately oozed out. Without time to stop, I mustered up my courage and ran to the top of the mountain. But when I finally arrived, panting heavily, Mia stood there with her hands on her hips, smiling at me. There was no sign of her being injured at all. She turned around and said triumphantly to William, "See, I told you he would definitely come. He loves me so much." William then raised his eyebrows at me meaningfully. "Dr. James, you're really something. You have a big heart." All the tension in my nerves snapped at that moment, and a heavy feeling of suffocation rushed to my head. I swallowed the metallic taste of blood in my throat and tried my best to control my trembling hands. I turned around and walked down the mountain without saying a word. Mia suddenly grabbed my hand, her tone a bit flustered. "James, how did you get your hand like this? Aren't you going to perform surgery in a couple of days?" Hearing this, I just wanted to laugh. Didn't she cause this? For a surgeon, the hands are more important than life itself, yet they had become a bargaining chip for her jokes. I didn't want to waste any more words with her and just hoped to go down the mountain quickly and deal with the injury. She sensed a change in my mood and hugged my arm, starting to act. "CSH, William said that if he could trick you up here, he would send me a red packet. Aren't you going to praise your wife for being smart and good at managing the household? I pushed her away indifferently and carefully walked each step of the way. When Mia saw that I wasn't following her lead, a frosty expression crossed her face. Well, in the past, it was always me who coaxed her. Now, the fact that she was willing to show me a bit of kindness probably seemed like a great favor to her. She snorted coldly and started chatting and laughing with William behind me. He's so stupid that he hurt his hand and is taking his anger out on me. What a loser. Even though he seems tough now, he'll still come crawling back to me tomorrow. Why bother? William sneered. All the way down, I remained silent. I no longer, like before, nervously paid attention to Mia's words and deeds all the time, fearing that she might have an affair with someone. Mia might have felt bored, or she might have noticed my unusual behavior. In the latter part of the journey, she stopped joking around with William. When we got home, Mia let out a scream when she saw the broken flower bouquets all over the house. Was our house robbed? Why is it in such a mess? I ignored her and focused on cleaning my wound. Fortunately, it was just a superficial wound on the skin and didn't damage the bones or nerves. Mia kept pestering me with, questions. Are you deaf? I'm asking you how this happened. There are only 3 days left until the wedding. After bandaging my wound, I let out a long sigh. I said indifferently, what are you shouting about then? Let's not have the wedding. Mia looked at me in disbelief, and there was a hint of panic on her face. But soon, she sneered, James, do you think I'll beg you like this? You're dreaming. I felt like laughing when I heard that. Who cared if she begged me or not? I pressed my throbbing head. After staying up late continuously and climbing the mountain in the dark, my body had reached its limit, so I ignored her, washed up briefly, and fell heavily onto the bed. I thought that as long as I got some sleep, my physical exhaustion would be relieved. But in the middle of the night, my body suddenly started to have a fever without any warning. I groggily took 2 pills and put them in my mouth, then fell asleep again. But the next day, my fever got even worse. I was lying beside the trash can, retching continuously. Mia, who was woken up by me, originally wanted to scold me, but when she saw my flushed face, she was shocked. She patted my back with a bit of concern and asked, what's wrong with you? I guess that I caught a cold from the wind yesterday and got an infection due to the injury. I mumbled, feeling dizzy. Please take me to the hospital. I need to get a drip. After hearing my words, she snorted in dissatisfaction. You're a grown man, but your physical fitness is so weak. Look at William. He didn't have any problems after climbing the mountain. Her complaining words reached my ears, and my heart ached uncontrollably. In her eyes, William was better than me in every way. Even though I earned more and did all the housework, I still couldn't compare to William, the car mechanic, in terms of masculinity. At this moment, with both internal and external injuries, I felt like a complete loser. All my sincere love was wasted. I retched again as if I was going to cough my lungs out. Mia realized that I was really seriously ill, and she quickly helped me out in a flurry. As she drove, she casually said, there's a garbage bag at your feet. If you want to vomit, just do it in there. I was lying on the back seat. I reached down, and sure enough, there was a bag. Just then, a wave of nausea hit me, but when I looked down, there was a used condom in the bag with some milky white, unknown liquid on it. I felt even more nauseous. Just then, Mia's phone rang. She glanced at it and quickly answered. I didn't know what was said on the other end of the phone, but her face became more and more serious. After hanging up the phone, she looked a bit apologetic. James, William sprained his ankle. I have to go there right away. You can go to the hospital by yourself. It's not that far anyway. After saying that, she forcefully pulled me out of the car. I gritted my teeth, leaned against a tree by the roadside, and panted as I took out my phone to call the emergency number. But the next second, my vision went black. I fell straight to the ground when I woke up. Again, I was lying in a hospital bed within 4 drip. My colleague Emma was standing beside me. When she saw that I was awake, she let out a sigh of relief. You really don't care about your life. Your fever was almost 42 degrees, and you went out alone. If I hadn't seen you on the roadside, you would have gone crazy from the fever. I twitched the corners of my mouth, feeling too embarrassed to say that I was left on the roadside by someone. Emma looked at my expression and suddenly asked, "Your wedding is the day after tomorrow. Are you okay to go through with it?" I had no expression on my face and said calmly, "I'm not getting married anymore." Fortunately, Emma just blinked in surprise and didn't ask any further questions. I took out my phone and was thinking about how to inform my relatives and friends of the news. Suddenly, I saw a new post on Moments by William. "Mia doesn't believe it when I say she's a fool. I just had a small cut on my foot, and it made her cry." Mia's reply in the comment section was full of sweetness. "You bad guy. If you scare me again, I won't talk to you." Her girlfriends also liked and commented one after another. "You two are like natural enemies. Please get married right here, but change the groom." Strangely enough, in the past, I would have been really angry when I saw such words. I would definitely have asked her girlfriends what they meant. As a result, my reputation among Mia's friends got worse and worse. They said I was narrow-minded and looking for trouble for no reason. But now it seems that my feelings for Mia burned away completely along with that illness. So I smiled, gave it a like, and then commented, "Wish you a long-lasting relationship. If you need the wedding venue, I can transfer it to you at a 20% discount." After posting the comment, I immediately sent the news of canceling the wedding to the relatives and friends group. After finishing everything, I let out a long sigh, and the big stone in my heart finally dropped. But unexpectedly, what came earlier than Mia's questioning was a call from my friend Henry. His tone was filled with uncontrollable excitement. "Bro, you're really not getting married anymore?" "I'm twice, no, I'm not." Henry laughed and slapped his thigh. "You blockhead. You finally come to your senses. You didn't live in the house and city, eh? Quit your great job and went to that small county town to look for true love. I was really worried about you." Henry comforted me for a while and then suddenly said, "James, since you're not getting married anymore, why don't you come back? Our department is still short of someone, and your qualifications are definitely fine." I had this intention. I planned to leave and go back after dealing with things here. Just in time, I could also take my mom back. After all, the medical conditions here are worlds apart from those in City A. Speaking of my mom, I am grateful to Mia. After my parents got divorced, I had been living with my mom, but one day she went out to climb a mountain and didn't come home very late. When I was about to call the police in a hurry, a girl carried her to the hospital. That girl was as thin as a stick. When she carried my mom, her two legs were trembling. When I arrived at the hospital, I saw that she was soaked all over, as if she had just been fished out of the water. That girl was Mia, and she might have been scared silly at that time. No matter what I asked, she just bit her lips and didn't say a word. After 3 hours of emergency treatment, my mom's life was saved, but she became a vegetable. At that moment, I felt that the world had lost its color. It was at that time that Mia walked into my heart. She was a warm-hearted and diligent girl. She always blamed herself, saying that if she had met my mom earlier, maybe she could have woken up. I explained to her that my mom had high blood pressure and it was normal for her to faint suddenly. This matter had nothing to do with her. But this girl was as stubborn as a mule. She went to the hospital frequently. Either she was wiping my mom's body or massaging her limbs. I felt that I was really wronging her, so I secretly stuffed a red envelope into her bag. Unexpectedly, the next day, she came to me with red eyes, holding the red envelope. "Do you look down on me?" I was immediately flustered and blurted out, "How could that be?" She smiled, blushed, and said softly, "Then would you like me to be your wife?" So we established a relationship. After Mia graduated, she said she didn't want to leave her hometown, so I brought my mom to her city. Well, for a man, it's not embarrassing to make concessions for his woman, but ever since I went to her hometown and met her childhood friend William, everything seemed to go off track. But it doesn't matter anymore. Everything is in the past. I sighed, pulled out the needle and tube, and planned to go home. Suddenly, Emma, who was coming towards me, stopped me. "I'm off work. Let me give you a ride home. It's on my way anyway." I didn't decline. After thanking her, I took Emma's car and went home. When I opened the door, I was shocked by the scene in front of me. My wedding room was crowded with people. Mia's parents, girlfriends, and even William were there. It was like a joint trial. Mia's eyes were red and swollen. Obviously, She had been crying for a while. I was a bit puzzled. What was she crying for? She should be celebrating with William at this moment. When she saw me, she rushed forward and slapped me. James, are you even human? You just canceled the wedding like that. I push her away coldly. Isn't this exactly what you want? You like William. What's wrong with fulfilling your wish? William clicked his tongue. James, you're being narrow-minded by saying that. The two of us have a pure friendship. If we were going to be together, we would have been together long ago. Mia's mother sighed. James, you really have a misunderstanding. The two have been playmates since childhood. Don't be so petty as a man. I sneered. You guys are treating me like a fool, aren't you? As soon as I finished speaking, Mia threw a photo at me. How far have you gone with this? I was completely confused by her words. I picked up the photo, and it turned out to be Emma. In this photo, Emma and I were sitting and talking, and there was no sign of any impropriety at all. At this time, Mia's father spoke up, and a glint flashed in his eyes. James, since you've cheated, this matter can't be left like this. How about this? You apologize to Mia and add another 100,000 yuan as the betrothal gift as compensation. Then we'll let this matter go. After all, we're family. I stared at their faces. Some of them were arrogant and disdainful. Some were scornful and mocking. I laughed. They were trying to turn black into white. When I gave the betrothal gift and bought the house, they kept saying that they regarded me as their own son. Now that they saw I was going to leave, they regarded me as a pushover and tried to take advantage of me. I originally wanted to give their family some dignity and part on good terms. But since Mia has no sense of shame, don't blame me for not showing her any mercy. I turned around, took out a stack of documents from the room, and threw them hard in the faces of her family. Mia was annoyed by being hit. She picked up the papers on the ground and said angrily, I want to see what this is. But before she could finish speaking, her face turned pale as paper, and her body trembled like a dice. Mia's father and Mia's mother looked at each other in confusion and also picked up the papers. After taking a look, Mia's mother's eyes widened, and she almost couldn't catch her breath. Mia's father was so angry that his face turned red, and he roared, This is forged. How could my daughter have had an abortion? He grabbed Mia's arm. Daughter, say something quickly. They're throwing such slander at you. But Mia just kept her head lowered, looking full of shame. At that moment, Mia's father understood everything. He grabbed Mia's collar and slapped her. When did you have an abortion? Whose child was it? William was panicked at this time and was about to slip away quietly. I stepped forward to block him and smiled. It's your turn. Where are you going? William looked at me nervously and said bravely, but insincerely, It's your family's business. What does it have to do with me? Mia's father got angry when he heard this and cursed. Was it you, William? You defile my daughter, and now you want to run away? William was stubborn. Uncle, I don't know about this. Besides, it's all in the past. Why keep dwelling on it? Just live a good life in the future, okay? I couldn't help laughing. Mia's mother was really afraid that I wouldn't want her daughter. That's right. I gave her family 660,000 yuan as the betrothal gift. I also helped her son get into a key primary school. How could she let go of me, this easy target, so easily? Mia was crying so hard that she couldn't catch her breath. James, I know I shouldn't have hidden in the fact that I had an abortion from you, but it's because I care about you. I swear I have no relationship with William anymore. We're just innocent good friends. One innocent friendship. She was still full of lies, even now. Mia's father and Mia's mother knew they were in the wrong, but they still tried to smooth things over. James, you see, you've cheated, and Mia has cheated too. Be fair and forgive each other. Then you can live a good life in the future. Yes, we can still be a family in the future. I looked at these people who refused to admit their mistakes and decided not to show any more mercy. So I took out my computer and played the car video. In the video, Mia, disheveled, was passionately kissing William. The gasps of the two of them were especially clear in this enclosed room. Mia broke down. She rushed forward and smashed the computer on the floor. Mia's father picked up a bench and charged toward William. You beast! I'll beat you to death. The room was immediately in chaos. Mia's father and William started fighting, and Mia's mother was crying and trying to stop them. Mia knelt in front of me, begging me to forgive her. James, I was wrong. I was just confused for a moment. Please forgive me. Okay. I pulled her hand that was tightly gripping my pants away and said coldly, don't touch me. I think you're dirty. Tell me, what can I do for you to forgive me? You can hit me. Mia was like a madwoman, grabbing my hand to hit herself. I looked at her coldly. She had lied to me time and time again and treated me like a fool. Now that her misdeeds have been exposed, she's kneeling on the ground begging for my forgiveness. Mia, your apology is worthless. I didn't want to entangle with such a person anymore and said calmly, return all the betrothal gifts. The house is in your name. I paid the down payment, and you can pay off the remaining mortgage by yourself. Consider the down payment as the reward for saving my mother's life. From now on, we won't owe each other anything. Mia's pupils dilated. She could see my determination to break up. She completely broke down and started questioning me loudly. James, how have I treated you all these years? Is your heart made of stone? But should I be the one asking this question? No matter how much I sacrificed for her, it was taken for granted. I remember the message I once saw Mia send to William. She said that since they had missed each other, they should keep each other in their hearts, and she was someone else's woman now, unworthy of him. So, was I supposed to be the one to pick up what was left by others? In Mia's eyes, I was just a simp. Since that's the case, I'll fulfill their wishes. Suddenly, Mia's mother let out a scream. It turned out that William accidentally smashed Mia's father's head. Mia was terrified. She cried and helped Mia's father up. They rushed him to the hospital in a hurry. Before leaving, she looked at me with tears in her eyes. James, wait for me to come back and explain to you. But I didn't want to listen. I started packing my luggage. I applied for resignation. 2 days later, my resignation application was approved. I went to the hospital to hand over my work. Although my colleagues were reluctant to part with me, they all wished me the best. We had a meal together. After having enough to eat and drink, a colleague stammered and said, James, originally seeing that you were about to get married, I planned to keep this matter to myself. But now that you're not getting married, I thought about it and decided to tell you. Looking at his serious expression, I asked, what is it? Just say it. My colleague frowned and said, last month, when my partner and I went to a hotel, we ran into Mia and a man. They were walking arm in arm, looking very intimate. I opened my phone, flipped out a photo, and asked, is it him? My colleague nodded and said firmly, that's him. I understood and remembered the day of our love anniversary last month. I cooked a table full of her favorite dishes. I wanted to give her a surprise at home, but she didn't come back until the middle of the night. I asked her with an ashen face where she had been. Mia said impatiently that she had gone to see a colleague. I immediately asked her to call to prove it, but Mia burst into tears and blamed me as if she had been provoked. I'm also under a lot of mental pressure. Why are you being so aggressive? Don't you just want to do that thing? As she spoke, she frantically tore at her clothes. I gave in despite being full of anger. I had to comfort her instead. But if I had been more clear-headed that night, I would have noticed the suspicious marks on her body. I smiled, feeling lucky that I had finally escaped from this miserable situation. After saying goodbye to my colleagues, I drove home. When I opened the door, a soft body rushed into my arms. I looked down and saw that it was Mia, dressed in revealing clothes. There was a charm on her face that she had never shown before. You're finally back. Do you know how long I've been waiting for you? I coldly scanned her. At this moment, she was dressed boldly, which was the dream of countless men. I was no exception. In the past, I eagerly bought such clothes for her secretly. As a result, she threw the clothes in my face and asked me with a sad expression what I really thought of her. When I saw the tears in the corners of her eyes, I felt extremely regretful. I immediately threw away the sexy lingerie. Who would have thought that it wasn't that she didn't want to wear it, but that I wasn't worthy of seeing it? Because I suddenly remembered that once, when I was at a gathering with Mia's friends during a truth or dare session, someone asked William what the most exciting scene he had ever seen was. William pondered for a moment and said slowly, with an expression of still being immersed in it, it was a short skirt with red bows. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone in the room started to boo. At that time, I didn't understand. Now that I think about it, it turned out that they were all making fun of me. The moment Mia was wearing that red short skirt with bows, a wave of nausea welled up in my throat. I suppressed the urge to vomit and pushed her away in disgust. Mia fell to the ground in a sorry state and looked at me in disbelief. Looking at her expression, I'm sure William was very fond of this outfit. I thoughtfully suggested, "You'd better show it to William." The faint blush on Mia's face faded completely. At this moment, she seemed to have completely given up, and there was a clear hint of hatred in her eyes as she looked up at me. "James, do you really have to be so heartless? I put in both hard work and toil all these years, haven't I?" I nodded. "That's why do you think I gave you the house?" When it came to the house, Mia became even more agitated. She looked at me hatefully. "James, did you never plan to have a good life with me? You're so rich. Why didn't you buy the house in full? Why did you have to take out a mortgage? Now you can just leave easily, and I can't afford the mortgage at all." I looked at this woman whom I had loved for so many years and even wanted to cut open her body to see if she had a heart. I gave her a betrayal gift of 660,000 yuan and also bought 5 pieces of gold jewelry. I also had to pay my mother's medical expenses regularly. Even so, she was still not satisfied and kept questioning me why I didn't buy the house in full. I pressed my throbbing head wearily and said all the good words I could. "Mia, I've given you everything I could. It's you who are not satisfied and have brought things to this point. You can only blame yourself." She immediately retorted, "You're talking nonsense. You clearly still have a house in City A. You can sell it for a 7-figure sum. Why don't you sell it?" Veins bulged on my forehead, and I said word by word, "That house belongs to my mother." She sneered, "Your mother's is yours, isn't it? In the end, you're still guarding against me." The person I once loved was now unrecognizable. There was always only money in her eyes. I began to wonder if what she had taken a fancy to back then wasn't me, but my money. I ignored her and continued packing my luggage. Mia was now, like a forsaken woman, constantly accusing me. "James, do you know how many difficulties I overcame for you? My family didn't agree with me dating someone from out of town, but I still chose you. They say that children from single-parent families have character flaws. I think this saying is really true." My hand that was packing the luggage suddenly stopped, and I turned around to look at her fiercely. I had never regretted meeting her as much as I did at this moment. I showed her the most hidden scar in my heart. In the end, it became a knife for her to stab at my heart. I breathed rapidly, and it felt as if the blood in my whole body was flowing backward. I pointed at the door and said word by word, "Get out. Don't force me to take action." Mia laughed like a madwoman. "I won't leave. What can you do to me?" I raised my hand and grabbed her shoulder just as I was about to drag her out. My phone rang suddenly. I took a look and saw that it was a call from the hospital. I answered it, and the chief doctor's voice was extremely excited. "James, your mother has woken up." I was stunned for 2 seconds and burst into tears of joy. "I'll come right away. Thank you, Dr. Jean." I wiped away my tears and started looking for the car keys. Mia, who was standing in the living room, seemed to be possessed by a ghost. Her body suddenly started shaking. Seeing that I was about to go out, she snatched the keys and stumbled out. I felt strange. Why was Mia in such a hurry? I opened my phone and called a taxi. When I arrived, I couldn't wait for the elevator and ran all the way to the 8th floor. I pushed the door open, panting, only to see Mia kneeling beside my mother's bed. The strange feeling in my heart grew stronger, and a creepy suspicion flashed through my mind. I rushed over, pushed Mia away, and hugged my mother. All the grievances in my heart welled up at this moment. My mother stroked my back. "You've had a tough time these past few years." I shook my head and choked up. "What are you talking about, Mom?" My mother then looked at Mia, who was feeling uneasy. "Mia, it must have been hard for you to marry my James." I stood up and stopped Mia, who wanted to speak. "Mom, we didn't get married." Mia burst into tears with a sob. She still wanted to say something, but this time I didn't give her a chance and directly pushed her out of the door. My mother was confused. "She's not your wife." I sighed and briefly told her the whole story. Unexpectedly, after hearing what I said, My mother was so angry that she slapped the table heavily. This girl came to beg me, saying she was your wife and hoping I would let them off the hook. I thought that since we were going to be a family, there was no need to pursue the matter further. But she actually lied to me. My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly asked, "Mom, what exactly happened to you?" At that time, my mother pondered for a while and then said slowly, "That day, I was on my way down the mountain. On the way, I saw a man and a woman arguing. I saw that the boy was about to hit the girl, so I went over to dissuade them. As a result, the boy pushed me down in a fit of anger, and I rolled down the slope onto a rock. After that, I couldn't remember clearly. That girl was Mia." After hearing what my mother said, my fingers couldn't help but tremble. It turned out that from beginning to end, this relationship was nothing but a lie. I swallowed the dry and metallic taste in my throat and let out a heavy sigh. I found a photo on my phone and said, "Mom, do you still remember what that person looked like? Is it him?" My mother looked at the phone carefully, and her expression became more and more serious. She got excited and said, "Yes, it's this man. I won't remember it wrong." I nodded and put away my phone. I said word by word, "Mom, let's go home. I will settle this account bit by bit." My mother let out a sigh and said, "How could things have turned out this way?" I smiled and stroked her hair, saying, "Everything is in the past. As long as you're still here, that's all that matters." After that day, I took my mother back to the city. At the same time, I found a lawyer and sued Mia and William. When Mia found out, she went crazy and called me hundreds of times in one night. I blocked her number directly, and William kept sending me voice messages. I clicked on 2 of them and listened. All he said was that he was wrong and hoped to apologize to my mother in person. He said he had elderly parents and young children to support and hoped I would let him off. In the end, he even started scolding Mia, saying she was a troublemaker. If it hadn't been for the argument with her that day, he wouldn't have accidentally pushed my mother. At the end of his message, William actually started crying loudly. It was clear that he had been under a lot of pressure recently. Come to think of it, William came from an ordinary family, and his mother had some underlying health problems. If he, a car mechanic, went to prison, his life in the second half would be over, as one could imagine. But what did it have to do with me? He was the one who did those things, and an adult should be responsible for their actions. I stopped paying attention to their affairs and handed over the following procedures to the lawyer. I then took my resume to the hospital that my friend had recommended. This was one of the top 3 hospitals in the country. However, my resume was quite impressive, and with the internal recommendation from an acquaintance, I received an employment invitation. My life returned to normal once again. My mother's health was getting better and better, and after going through all this, I completely let go of the past. But just when I got off work in the evening, I saw Mia standing at the entrance of the hospital. She looked haggard and nervously watched the people coming and going. I frowned, put on my mask, and walked out without looking sideways. But just 2 steps out, Mia recognized me. Damn it. I clearly remembered that when I went to the amusement park with her before, we got separated by accident, and I found her quickly. I just wanted to stand there and see when she would notice me, but I was disappointed. After waiting for nearly an hour, she still didn't find me. Afterward, she smiled and said to me, "You have an ordinary face, and your figure is not outstanding. It would be strange if I could recognize you." I felt inferior for a long time because of that and secretly exercised in private. Why could she recognize me at a glance now? I looked at her and asked calmly, "What's the matter?" Seeing my distant attitude, her eyes gradually turned red. She raised her hand to grab my sleeve, but I sidestepped to avoid her. I said impatiently, "If you have something to say, say it. I've been working all day and don't have the time to mess around with you." Mia was extremely embarrassed and nodded nervously. She stammered, "You didn't answer call, so I had to come too. Thank you for the sake of me taking care of your aunt. Can you please not sue me?" As she spoke, tears streamed down her face. You know, it's not easy for me to have just passed the exam to become a teacher. If I really go to prison, I interrupted her. That has nothing to do with me. If it weren't for the 2 of you, my mother wouldn't have suffered so much, and I wouldn't have met you. Mia looked at me sadly. She had lost a lot of weight, and her already thin body now seemed as if it would fall over at the slightest gust of wind. Suddenly, she raised her head abruptly and said, "I'm pregnant." There was a moment of silence in the air. For 2 seconds, I said calmly, "How many months along are you?" Mia was silent for 2 seconds and then said, "3." I laughed and said, "You're lying. 3 months ago, you still had your period." As for why I knew that so clearly, it was because Mia would always have bad menstrual cramps during her period. I would specifically keep track of it and make ginger soup for her. Mia's face turned pale all of a sudden. Her lips twitched twice, and she hung her head even lower. I silently made an inference in my mind. I said slowly, "The child is William's, right? You don't have to deny it. I remember the dates clearly. Just right. Since you're pregnant, you don't have to go to prison. When William gets out, you can get married." As I was talking intermittently, Mia suddenly raised her hand and slapped herself several times hard. Tears streamed down her face, and her shoulders shook uncontrollably as she cried. I felt neither sad nor happy and just watched her silently. When she spoke again, her voice was full of regret. "I originally wanted to have a good life with you. William is not the kind of person who can live a proper life, but I don't know why, after I returned to my hometown, he pestered me again like a ghost. He just can't stand to see me happy. He knows he's not as good as you, so he's jealous of me and hates you." I made up my mind several times to ignore him, but he threatened me with my private photos. I got involved with him again in a muddle. "I'm sorry for you. It's not unusual to have venomous snakes and insects." But her tears had no effect on me at all. I had actually wasted my youth of the past few years on such a person. Fortunately, it's not too late now. I ignored her and turned around and left. The case progressed quickly, and William confessed to the criminal facts. In the end, he was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Mia was sentenced to 2 years for the crime of shielding, and because she was pregnant, she was given a suspended sentence outside prison. Gradually, I stopped paying attention to their affairs. After another year, my family introduced a girl to me. After getting along, we found that we were a good match for each other. This time, however, I specifically observed the people around her. After confirming that her social circle was clean, we decided to get married. Both of us were only children, so we had a lot of resonance on many things. I also confessed my past to her, and she didn't mind. After hearing it, life went on peacefully and fulfilling like this until more than 3 years later. A former colleague from the county gossiped with me. "James, do you still remember that?" He replied, "Yes, I do." "Why?" He said, "He and Mia got into a fight, and now both of them are in the hospital." I didn't care why the two of them fought, but I suddenly remembered something. Their child should be 3 years old now. "Right," my colleague replied. The child wasn't born. Mia's parents didn't agree and took her to have an abortion early. I made an O sound and didn't ask anymore. My wife, Olivia, held our daughter and asked softly, "Honey, what are you looking at?" I turned around and kissed her face, saying, "It's nothing, just some gossip." From then on, I knew that I would become happier and happier.